There is a moment, quiet and unnoticed, that happens right before every single thing you have ever created in your life. It happens before the job offer, before the relationship, before the breakthrough, before the breakdown. It happens in a place so close to you that you have overlooked it your entire life, the way a fish overlooks water. That moment is the moment you said, in the silence of your own mind, I am. And whatever you attached to those two words after that, whether you knew it or not, became the blueprint of your experience. Understand this. I am is not simply a phrase. It is the most powerful sentence a human being can ever speak, because it is the doorway through which the infinite enters the finite. When Moses stood before the burning bush and asked for a name, he was not given a title, a rank, or a description. He was given a declaration. I am that I am. Tell them I am has sent you. Think about this for a moment. The creator of the universe did not say I was or I will be. He said I am. Present tense, eternal now. Ever becoming, ever present power, waiting for identity to be poured into it. And you, made in that image, carry that exact same creative mechanism within your own consciousness. Every time you say, I am, you are not describing yourself. You are creating yourself. You are speaking as God speaks, because that is the only way you know how to speak, because that is what you are. Let that sink into your spirit. Every sentence beginning with I am that you have ever spoken has been an act of creation, whether it built you up or tore you down. I am tired. I am broke. I am not good enough. I am always the one who gets left behind. These were not observations of your reality. They were commands issued to your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind, being the faithful and obedient servant that it is, went to work immediately to make those words true. It did not judge them. It did not question them. It simply received them as your identity and began arranging the outer world to reflect the inner declaration. This is why your life looks the way it looks right now. Not because the world is unfair, not because you were unlucky, but because somewhere, sometime you accepted an I am that was never meant to be your final truth. And you have been living inside that borrowed identity ever since. But here is the truth that will set you free the moment you truly receive it. If your words created the life you did not want, those same words, redirected with awareness and feeling, can create the life your soul has been aching for since before you can remember. The power was never the problem. The power has always been perfect. It is the assignment of that power, the words, the beliefs, the assumptions you married to your I am, that determine the outcome. You are not powerless. You have never been powerless. You have simply been unconscious of the power operating through you every single moment of every single day. Consider this. Neville Goddard spent his life trying to communicate one central truth to a world addicted to believing in outer causes. He said that imagination is the very body of God, that consciousness is the one and only reality, and that the world you see is nothing more than the outer expression of an inner conversation you have been having with yourself, often without even realizing it. He taught that man is all imagination, and God is man and exists in us, and we in him. Read that again. God is not a distant being seated on a cloud, judging your worthiness from a throne far removed from your circumstance. God is the very imagination operating within you right now, as you listen to these words, that is aware of itself. God is the am that is always creating. And when you say, I am successful, you are not lying to yourself. You are aligning yourself with the eternal creative power that has been waiting patiently for you to claim your true identity. Now, I want you to notice something. This is how different it feels to say, I want to be successful versus I am successful. Feel this deeply. I want to keep success at a distance. It is a statement of lack. It affirms with every repetition that success is not yet yours, that it exists somewhere out there, separate from you, something to be chased, earned, and hopefully one day acquired if you are lucky enough, or if the universe finally decides to smile on you. But I am collapses that distance entirely. I am places success, not in some future moment you must strive toward, but in the eternal present, the only place where anything has ever actually existed. There is no other time but now. There has never been any other time but now. The past is simply a memory replaying itself in present consciousness, and the future is simply an imagined scene not yet given form. Everything happens now, which means the only place success can ever be experienced, truly experienced, not chased, is right now, in this present I am. This is why the affirmation I am successful is not wishful thinking. It is not denial. It is not delusion. It is the most scientifically precise use of consciousness available to a human being, because it aligns your inner identity with the state you desire to see outwardly expressed. You are not lying when you say, I am successful before the evidence appears. You are simply seeing further than your physical eyes can see. You are perceiving with the eye of imagination, which Neville called the true eye, the eye that sees the end from the beginning, the way the Creator sees the finished creation before a single atom moves into place. Allow yourself to see this. Every invention that has ever existed first existed as a feeling of I am in the mind of its creator before it existed as a physical object in the world. The light bulb was I am the one who has conquered darkness in the mind of Edison long before it was glass and filament. The airplane was I am flying in the imagination of the Wright brothers long before it was metal and altitude. Every business, every marriage, every healing, every triumph that has ever occurred in human history first occurred as an assumed state of consciousness, a felt I am before it occurred as fact. You're not asking creation to bend the rules for you when you affirm your success. You are simply doing what every successful being in the history of the world has done, knowingly or unknowingly. You are assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled and letting that assumption, held with feeling, harden into fact. Now, you may ask, why does it not seem to work when I say the words? Why have I affirmed I am successful, I am wealthy, I am worthy 1,000 times, and still find myself standing in the same circumstances? This is the question that separates those who dabble in affirmation from those who truly transform their lives through it. And the answer is this: words alone are empty vessels. They are the shape without the substance. What gives an affirmation its power is not the words themselves, but the feeling and the belief that inhabit those words as you speak them. You must realize that your subconscious mind does not respond to vocabulary. It responds to vibration. It responds to conviction. It responds to the emotional atmosphere you generate when you declare I am. If you say I am successful while your body is tense with doubt, while your inner tone carries the shadow of but I'm really not, your subconscious mind will register the doubt as the dominant signal and ignore the surface level words entirely. The subconscious always obeys the strongest impression, not the loudest sentence. This is why true manifestation is not a matter of repeating words mechanically like a magic spell. It is a matter of becoming inwardly the person to whom those words are already true. It is a matter of feeling the relief, the confidence, the quiet inner knowing of someone who has already arrived, rather than the straining, grasping energy of someone still trying to convince themselves. Feel the difference between reaching for something and resting in something. Reaching says, I don't have it yet, and I'm not sure I ever will. Resting says, it is already mine, and I am simply living from that truth. Every night when you affirm, I am successful, ask yourself honestly, am I reaching or am I resting? Because only one of those postures gives your subconscious mind the impression it needs to reorganize your circumstances. Let this settle within you. Your subconscious mind is not concerned with what is logically possible in the outer world. It is only concerned with what you have accepted as true about yourself in the inner world. This is the great and often misunderstood law that governs every human experience. Your subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between an event you have physically lived and a scene you have vividly imagined and emotionally embraced as real. This is why a person can lie in bed at night replaying an argument that never actually happened and wake up the next morning with real anger, real tension in the body, real physiological stress, all from a scene that existed only in imagination. If imagination can create real suffering from an unlived scene, imagination can just as easily create real success from an unlived scene, provided you learn to occupy that scene with the same conviction you once gave unconsciously to your fears. This is the shift you are being called to make. Not a shift in effort, not a shift in strategy, shift in identity. Notice what happens when you stop asking, what do I need to do to become successful? And instead ask, who do I need to be right now in this moment in order for success to be the natural and inevitable outcome of my being? This question changes everything because it moves you out of the exhausting realm of striving and into the effortless realm of becoming. Doing flows from being, it has always flowed from being. You do not become confident by performing confident actions first. You perform confident actions because you have first assumed inwardly the identity of a confident person. Action is the fruit, identity is the root. And so many people spend their entire lives rearranging the fruit, wondering why nothing changes while never once tending to the root. Imagine for a moment what it would feel like to walk through your day already convinced at the deepest level of your being that you are successful. Not hoping, not wishing, convinced. How would you carry your body? How would you speak to the people around you? How would you respond to a setback, an obstacle, a delay? Would you panic, or would you move through it with the calm certainty of someone who knows, without a shadow of doubt, that this too is simply part of the unfolding of a story already destined for triumph? This is the state you are being asked to inhabit, not someday, not when the evidence finally arrives, but now, tonight, in this very sentence. Because the evidence will always follow the assumption. It has never once, in the history of consciousness, worked the other way around. The truth is, you have been trained by the outer world to believe that seeing is believing. Show me the money, and then I will believe I am wealthy. Show me the relationship, and then I will believe I am worthy of love. Show me the healed body, and then I will believe I am well. But this is the exact inversion of how creation actually works. And it is why so many people spend their whole lives waiting for a proof that can never arrive, because the proof is always waiting on the belief to come first. Believing is seeing, not the other way around. You must believe you are that successful person before the world can possibly reflect it back to you, because the outer world is nothing more than a mirror, and a mirror cannot show you an image you have not first stood in front of it. This is why the scriptures say, according to your faith be it unto you, not according to your circumstances, not according to your bank account, not according to what your family told you was possible for someone like you. According to your faith, your inner conviction, your settled assumption, your unwavering I am, be it unto you. The kingdom of God is described again and again, not as a place you travel to, but as a state you enter into, right where you stand. The kingdom of God is within you, within, not beyond you, not reserved for you after some future qualification is met. Within you right now, waiting only to be recognized and claimed through the fearless declaration of I am. So let us go deeper into what it actually means to claim this identity of success. Success is not a number in an account, though it may express itself that way. Success is not a title, though it may express itself that way. Success, at its root, is the fulfillment of your true nature. It is the alignment between who you actually are in your deepest imagination and what you are actually expressing in the world. A person can have every outer symbol of success and still feel like a failure because those symbols were never rooted in an inner I am. And a person can, in the eyes of the world, have very little and yet radiate the unmistakable energy of someone who has already succeeded because they have claimed the identity first. And the outer symbols are simply beginning to catch up. This is why it is so important when you affirm I am successful to let that phrase mean something specific and personal to you, something that stirs real feeling in your chest rather than something borrowed and hollow. What does success actually feel like to you? Is it freedom? Is it the sense of your gifts finally being received by the world? Is it peace, knowing that you no longer have to prove your worth to anyone? Is it the quiet satisfaction of providing abundantly for the people you love? Find the feeling beneath the word, because the word is only a vessel. The feeling is the actual substance being poured into your subconscious mind night after night until it hardens into your new normal. Now, understand this about repetition. The reason I am affirmations are meant to be spoken every single day, not once, not occasionally, but every day, is not because the universe has a poor memory and needs to be reminded. It is because you have a poor memory. You have spent years, perhaps decades, repeating old identities. I am not enough. I am always struggling. I'm the unlucky one, until those identities became so deeply grooved into your subconscious mind that they now feel like objective fact rather than accepted belief. You cannot dissolve a groove worn deep by years of repetition with a single afternoon of positive thinking. You must, with patience and tenderness toward yourself, begin carving a new groove, day after day, night after night, until the new identity becomes just as automatic, just as unquestioned, just as obviously true as the old one once was. This is not about forcing yourself to believe something you know is false. This is about revising your relationship with what is true. Because here is a secret hidden in plain sight. Nothing about your current identity is more real or more permanent than the identity you are choosing to grow into. Your current sense of self is simply the most repeated story. It is not more valid. It is not more you. It is simply more familiar. And familiarity feels like truth, even when it is only habit wearing the mask of truth. You are not being asked to lie to yourself when you affirm, I am successful. You are being asked to stop lying to yourself with the old story and to begin telling yourself the deeper, truer story of who you actually are beneath the conditioning. The story of a being made in the image of infinite creative power, temporarily, wearing the costume of struggle simply because struggle was the pattern you were handed and never questioned. Let this truth settle over you like warm light. You did not choose your first identity. It was given to you by your family, your culture, your early wounds, your early fears. A child does not choose to believe, I am not enough. That belief is absorbed almost by accident from an environment that did not know how to reflect back the child's true worth. But you are not a child anymore. You are standing right now at the threshold of a choice that your younger self never had access to. You can choose your I am, consciously, deliberately, with full awareness of the creative power contained in that choice. This is the birthright you are stepping into as you listen to these words tonight. Feel the weight and the wonder of that responsibility. You are the author of your own identity from this point forward. Every excuse you have used, my family didn't have money, my industry is too competitive, people like me don't succeed, I started too late, I'm not talented enough. Every single one of those stories was simply an I am in disguise, a hidden identity you accepted as fact, which then organized your entire experience to prove itself correct. The subconscious mind does not care whether the belief serves you, it only cares whether you have accepted it as true. And so it will just as diligently manufacture evidence for I am always overlooked as it will manufacture evidence for I am the one who succeeds. The mechanism is neutral. It is you who chooses the seed. Understand this deeply. The moment you shift your inner identity, the outer world has no choice but to eventually rearrange itself to match. This is not mysticism divorced from logic. This is the most logical thing in existence because the outer world has never been the primary reality. Consciousness is the primary reality. The outer world is the secondary reflection, the shadow on the cave wall, responding always and only to the light of the assumption held behind it. When you assume the feeling of already being successful, you begin, without even trying, to notice opportunities you would have previously overlooked. You begin to speak with a different tone that draws different responses from people. You begin to move through rejection without collapsing into it, because your identity is no longer built on the outcome of any single event. It is built on the unshakable inner I am that exists independent of circumstance. This is the deepest secret of manifestation, and it is why so many people miss it even while quoting Neville Goddard daily. Manifestation is not about controlling outer events. It is about occupying an inner state so completely, so vividly, so emotionally convincingly that outer events have no option but to rearrange themselves around that state. You do not manifest by chasing circumstances. You manifest by becoming inwardly the person for whom those circumstances are the obvious and natural result. The chasing energy repels. The becoming energy attracts. And the difference between the two is not the words you speak, but the state of consciousness from which you speak them. So tonight, as you affirm, I am successful, I am worthy, I am abundant, I am guided, I am unstoppable, I want you to do something different than simply repeating words. I want you to close your eyes if you are somewhere safe to do so. And I want you to actually feel what it would feel like if this were already completely, undeniably true. Feel the relief in your shoulders. Feel the ease in your breathing. Feel the quiet confidence in your chest that no longer needs external validation because it has already validated itself from within. This feeling, this exact feeling, is the actual affirmation. The words are simply the doorway. The feeling is the room you are meant to walk into and live inside of every single day, and until it becomes so familiar that you forget you ever lived anywhere else. You must realize that the world you currently see is simply the crystallized residue of yesterday's beliefs. It is not a prophecy of tomorrow, it is a photograph of the past. And you are not obligated to keep photographing the same scene over and over simply because it is the scene you know how to capture. You have the power right now in this very moment to change the film, to change the lens, to change the light you're looking through. The old evidence, the bank account, the rejection, the years that seem to have passed without the breakthrough you longed for, none of that evidence has any power to determine your future, because evidence is always evidence of the past assumption, never a verdict on the future one. The moment you change your assumption, you begin immediately generating new evidence, even if that evidence has not yet had time to fully materialize in the physical world. Give it time. Give it faith. Give it the same patient trust you would give a seed planted in soil, which you do not dig up every single day to check on, but which you allow to work in the dark silently, according to its own perfect timing. This is where so many people abandon their manifestation just before the harvest. They plant the seed of I am successful. They water it for a few days, maybe even a few weeks. And when the outer world does not yet visibly confirm it, they panic. Dig the seed back up to inspect the roots, and in doing so, destroy the very growth that was already quietly happening beneath the surface. Divine timing is not a delay caused by a reluctant universe. Divine timing is simply the natural gestation period required for an inner conviction to fully crystallize into outer form. Nothing in nature is instant. The oak does not shame the acorn for taking years to become a forest. And you are not behind schedule simply because your harvest has not yet appeared in the timeline your impatience demands. Let this settle within you. Patience in this context is not passive waiting. It is active trust. It is the decision to continue occupying the identity of the successful person, especially when the outer world has not yet confirmed it. This is what true faith actually is. Faith is not believing something because you have already seen proof of it. That is not faith. That is simply agreement with the obvious. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith is holding the assumption steady in your consciousness, feeling it as real, living from it as though it were already accomplished, even while the physical senses insist otherwise. This is precisely the discipline that separates those who create extraordinary lives from those who remain trapped in the ordinary. Not intelligence, not luck, not privilege, but the trained capacity to hold an unseen assumption with unwavering feeling until it becomes seen. You are not being asked to ignore reality. You are being asked to understand that imagination is a deeper reality than the temporary arrangement of matter you currently call the facts. Facts are simply frozen imagination from a previous moment. They can be and constantly are reorganized by a new act of imagination held with conviction. This is why Neville taught that we must learn to live in the end, to mentally and emotionally inhabit the fulfilled wish, not as a future hope, but as a present fact, regardless of what the physical senses are currently reporting. Living in the end is not denial of your current circumstances. It is refusing to grant your current circumstances the final authority over your identity. Your current circumstances are simply the last chapter you wrote. They are not the whole book. And you, as the author, always retain the power to begin a new chapter, starting now, starting with this breath, starting with this I am. Consider this. Every great transformation recorded in Scripture followed this exact same inner pattern. Before the walls of a life could visibly fall, the inner conviction had to be held first, walked out in faith, circled again and again in apparent repetition, long before the outer collapse of resistance occurred. Before the water could become wine, the vessels first had to be filled, not with wishing, but with an act of faith performed as though the miracle were already assured. Every biblical miracle is a parable for the mechanics of consciousness. Ask, believing you have received, and it shall be given. Notice the order. Belief comes first. Receiving is simply the outer confirmation that belief has already occurred. This is not superstition. This is the operating law beneath every visible transformation you have ever witnessed or ever will witness. So I invite you now to stop waiting for permission from your circumstances to feel successful. Stop waiting for the bank statement, the promotion, the relationship, the recognition to grant you the right to claim your identity. Claim it first. Claim it now. Not as a hope, but as a fact of consciousness, because that is exactly what it is the moment you decide with feeling that it is so. You are successful, not becoming successful, not working towards success. You are successful right now in the deepest truth of your being, and the outer proof is simply a matter of allowing that truth the time and the trust it needs to fully express itself. Feel this deeply. One more time before we come to rest in this truth together. You were never the broken story you were told about yourself. You were never the limitation someone else projected onto you out of their own fear or their own unhealed pain. You are the I am, infinite, creative, eternally present, endlessly capable of new expression. Every version of you that has ever existed was simply a temporary costume worn by that eternal identity. And you are free in this very moment to choose a new costume, a new expression, a new I am, and to wear it with such conviction that the world has no choice but to bow to the authority of your claimed identity. Let this be the night you stop asking the world for permission and start giving your own consciousness the command it has been waiting your entire life to receive. I am successful. I am worthy of every good thing flowing to me now. I am guided by an intelligence far greater than my limited human reasoning. I am unstoppable, not because obstacles will never appear, but because my identity is no longer built on the absence of obstacles. I am abundant, because abundance was never about the amount in an account, but about the recognition of the infinite source I have always had access to. I am at peace because peace is not the reward for arriving somewhere, but the natural atmosphere of someone who already knows they are home. Say these words not as a wish thrown up into an uncertain sky, but as a fact quietly settled deep within your own being, the way the sun does not wish to rise, but simply rises, because rising is its nature. Success is your nature. It always has been. You simply forgot for a while, wandering through borrowed identities that were never truly yours. But tonight, and every night from here forward, you remember. You remember who you are. You remember the power that has been speaking through you your entire life, waiting only for you to notice it, claim it, and finally, fully, without apology, become it. Now let us walk a little further together, because there is a practical dimension to this awakening that deserves your full attention. You may be wondering how to actually carry this truth beyond this moment of reflection and into the texture of your ordinary days. Understand this. The transformation of an identity does not happen through a single dramatic realization, however powerful that realization may feel. It happens through the quiet, faithful repetition of a state, held gently day after day, until it becomes the default lens through which you interpret every experience. This is why the practice of speaking your I am affirmations at the edge of sleep carries such unusual power. In the drowsy state just before sleep, the analytical, critical faculty of the mind grows quiet, and the subconscious mind becomes far more receptive to impression. This is why Neville so often emphasized the importance of the moment, just before drifting off. Not because the words are magic in that hour, but because your resistance is at its lowest, and the seed of your assumed identity can drop into the fertile soil of your subconscious without the usual interference of doubt. Consider this as you prepare for rest tonight. Instead of replaying the events of the day, the disappointments, the irritations, the smallness of the moments that did not go your way, gently redirect your attention toward the feeling of the I am you wish to become. Whisper it inwardly, not as a frantic plea, but as a settled truth. I am successful, I am guided, I am provided for, I am loved. Let the repetition feel less like effort and more like a lullaby you are singing to the deepest part of yourself, the part that has been waiting, sometimes for years, sometimes for a lifetime, to finally be told the truth about who it really is. You must also understand that this inner work will be tested, not because the universe is cruel, but because old patterns do not release their grip without resistance. There will be days when doubt rises. There will be days when the old evidence, the unanswered email, the unexpected bill, the harsh word from someone you love, will whisper its familiar accusation that nothing has really changed. In those moments, do not panic and do not conclude that your work has failed. This is simply the old identity making its final protest before it dissolves. Meet it with tenderness rather than fear. Say to yourself gently, I see you, old story, but you are not who I am anymore. Return again and again to the felt sense of your chosen identity. The way a sailor returns again and again to the compass, not because the ship never drifts, but because correction, not perfection, is the actual practice of navigation. This is why self-compassion is not separate from manifestation. It is essential to it. You cannot berate yourself into a new identity. Shame and self-criticism are simply louder affirmations of the very lack you are trying to leave behind. Every time you catch yourself slipping into the old "I am not enough," do not add the burden of guilt on top of it. Simply notice, gently redirect, and continue. The subconscious mind responds to repetition and emotional intensity, not to punishment. A single evening of frustration will not undo weeks of faithful practice, just as a single cloudy day does not undo the existence of the sun. The sun is always there behind the clouds, whether or not you can currently see it, and your true successful identity is always there behind the doubt, waiting patiently for the clouds of old conditioning to part. Think about this for a moment. Every person you have ever admired for their apparent ease, their apparent confidence, their apparent inevitability of success was once standing exactly where you now stand, uncertain, unproven, surrounded by circumstances that gave no outward indication of the greatness quietly forming within. The difference between them and the multitude who never rose was not talent, and it was rarely opportunity. It was the willingness to claim an identity before the world offered any evidence to support it, and to hold that identity with such unwavering feeling that the world eventually had no choice but to conform to it. You are being invited into that same lineage tonight. Not the lineage of those who waited for permission, but the lineage of those who granted themselves permission, quietly, privately, in the sacred inner chamber of their own imagination, long before anyone else could see what they had already become. So let your "I am" tonight be spoken as a covenant, not a wish. A covenant is not conditional on circumstances. A covenant is a sacred agreement you make with your own consciousness, an unshakable inner contract that says, regardless of what today looks like, I choose this identity, and I will continue choosing it night after night until the outer world simply catches up to the truth I have already accepted within. This is your power. This has always been your power. It was never lost, only forgotten, and now in this very moment it is remembered.